My nightmare husband refuses to feed our twins at night because I should feed them like a normal person. Now, he calls me nonstop because I refuse to go back home. I became pregnant quite quickly, and I gave birth to twin girls about 4 weeks ago. They were born naturally, so I don't have the surgical wound or anything, which has made things easier, although the whole thing was not a great experience. But once they were born, everything had seemed to be okay, except they just wouldn't breastfeed. I've tried, I really have. I've talked to all my doctors, I've done everything they said, but it just doesn't work and it hurts as well. They both hate it, and I don't think I'm even producing enough for both of them because when they will feed, they get really hungry and cry soon afterwards. I've tried absolutely everything to make it work, but it just doesn't, and they'll either refuse or not have enough. I told my husband I can't do this anymore, and he said that I should talk to my doctors, but it's probably a phase. And once they're hungry enough, they'll feed because that's what they've been doing. Also that it's far healthier for them to be breastfed and that we shouldn't just switch because they're being picky. He does look after the babies with me and it's fairly evenly split throughout the day, but I've been getting up every night to try and feed them when they're hungry, but it's just not working. Eventually I told my doctor I was doing everything I could, but they just wouldn't feed. They checked both of the babies for things that may be affecting this, but there was nothing. So she said just to move to formula, and that I've done the best I could do, and it was better at this point to use formula instead because then they'll be getting enough and not be waking up so often in the night. I told my husband what the doctor said and that we need to switch because the babies going hungry so often could have lasting effects on them in the future, and I don't want to affect their development. He disagreed, but the babies were starting to cry again and still not wanting to feed, so I called my doctor about everything I would need, what I would need to do. I went and got those things and they actually fed, and slept much better in the night. One of them was still a little fussy, but once she had some she was so much better and drank the whole thing. It was such a relief that I could finally sleep for a bit, and they've been far happier for the last couple of days once I switched to formula. But I wasn't feeling well, so I asked my husband if he could feed them one night so I could sleep for the night. He still has parental leave, so he doesn't have work or anything that would be affected by that. But he said that I chose to go against him without a proper conversation or agreement, and so I should be responsible for feeding them still. It upsets me that he holds something like this over me when I tried the best I could to have them breastfeed. They just won't, and I've tried everything. It doesn't make any sense forcing them to go hungry when they will have formula, and they're both much happier now. I was talking to my mother, as she's going to be coming with my father to see the babies soon, and I was telling her that I was really tired. She said she can help me once she comes to see them with the babies and their feeds at night, but I'm already so tired and sore and I wish my husband could help me now. But he said it's a waste of money and that I should be feeding them like a normal person, and that's what I'm naturally supposed to do. It makes me feel awful because I've tried so hard to do that, but I just can't. They're his babies too, and it would help so much if he could feed them at night sometimes, even just once a week. I know other women have gone through much worse, and what I'm dealing with is not that stressful, but it really is a lot, and I just wish I could have a night's sleep for once instead of having to be awake so much, and I know I'm lucky, but it's really hard and it's becoming a bit too much. I don't know how to find any kind of compromise with him when it comes to the feeds at night, and it's making it difficult. Update: I took my daughters to my parents, and I have been there for almost a week now. Both of the twins seem to be doing well, and they seem happy. They're 5 weeks old now. One of them is starting to try and make noises as well, which is a nice change from the crying. I took them to the doctor so they can be checked, and they're both healthy and they're growing a bit better now they are having formula. One of them is a little fussy about it, but will still feed. I've finally been able to sleep properly. I'll feed them at night still, but my mother or father will feed them in the morning, so I can sleep then, and sometimes I even get to sleep for 9 or 10 hours. It's so much better, and I feel like I can enjoy the babies more while they're still small when I'm not so tired. They've been enjoying sleeping outside now that they're not so hungry all the time anymore, and they don't cry so much. I do feel horrible about letting them go hungry so often when they were little, but the doctor said they'll be fine now they're getting enough with formula. I was worried about frustrating my parents with the babies, but they seem really happy with them there. And the babies don't cry very much now, so it isn't so bad. My husband is angry at me. I told him I was going with the babies to my parents, but I think he thought I meant just for the day. We've called each other a couple of times and he said horrible things to me and how he wishes I was dead, but I'll deal with how he feels later when I feel better and know I can manage the babies on my own because they still need regular feeding quite frequently, and it's only achievable with my parents helping at the moment.